Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Life with Goldie podcast, where we travel around the world talking to trailblazers about their journey in the Salesforce ecosystem. I'm Mia Pacey, your host today. I'm also a Golden Hoodie recipient, but today we're here with Heather Black. Thanks for joining us, Heather.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is so exciting and such a great idea. Well done, Mia.
Thank you. And we're traveling around the world again. Where are you tuning in from today?
So I live in Hastings in the UK.
Wow, top side of the world from down under. We're going one side to the other.
Quite significant.
So we will kick off with kind of like, we like to explore our Golden Hoodies journey, as I said, but like, where did it start for you? How did Salesforce or Trailhead or like either or, when did it first come into your career path? And can you take us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was running a non-profit that coached young people to set up businesses, particularly in like social entrepreneurship world. And funnily enough, it's like I downloaded Salesforce because it was free for non-profits, and I sat with it for 4 years, not really wondering what a CRM was. And I was like, I'm sure I should really be using this. And as a small team, there was only 4 of us, and we used spreadsheets really, or we weren't really necessarily collecting things in a coherent way. But I got to a situation actually where I won quite a significant grant for our organisation, which was scale up our work for young people. So we went from 100k to 1.4 million in a year, and I went from staff in a year. Yeah, it was kind of like, and I was aged like 27 at the time, so it was quite a significant. I was like, okay, I need to know what this is. What is a CRM? And I need to start using
How many zeros were on the end of that? That's a lot.
Like a very steep learning curve around everything. And what really helped me understand what it could do is actually talking to other nonprofits and seeing how they were using Salesforce. And I think that's the biggest tip that any of us can do, right? Is we want to be learning and seeing how other people are using Salesforce, because you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, okay, I never realized it. And it kind of blew my mind. I was like, now I get it. And that was the motivation for me to learn Salesforce for my own organization, because I was like, oh my God, I've got to get my shit together. I don't know if we need a beat there, but I was like, I've got to get a system into place. I've got to manage everything. Like, and this was kind of like the whole funnel, because we were doing sales effectively, like reaching out to young people and using them as prospects, as well as also other grants and income, as well as then track all the delivery with them and track the impact, because we had to report to the funders actually to get the money in. So it's incredibly important that we recorded everything in a very systemized way to secure and continue getting the funding that we'd been able to leverage. So I was like, okay, completely new to this. So at the time, I did the 5-day Salesforce admin course, the advanced admin course. And then as I sort of got more interested in it, I also did the consultancy skills course that they did at the time. That was a 5-day course specifically around like Sales Cloud actually, and taught you sort of the basics of that. So I really got my hands dirty, and I was there tinkering away at night, building this system. Did the full rookie mistake though, like I built it a certain way and realized I couldn't report in the right way, so then had to rewire the whole system. Just remember working at night going, oh no, I haven't built the objects in the right way. And so I always tell everybody now, like, remember your reports, remember understanding the reports you need first before you build the system, because I just had that really painful experience of building it one way and then rewiring the whole thing. So when I teach people consultancy skills and help Salesforce professionals now, like I really sort of emphasize all the things I learned and did wrong.
Yeah. I guess it's easy to be like, stumbling steps are a good thing to train others on. And I really like that you then learned from that yourself and was like, wait, everyone, stop what you're doing. You need to figure out what you want to report on first before you create everything. Yeah, no, that's a really good plan.
Thankfully, I figured that out before I went live and got everybody using it. I did the testing myself and went, oh no, actually I need to rewire it. So thankfully I hadn't got like the whole team using it. So we didn't go to 40 overnight, obviously. We kind of grew that amount in a year. But it was that whole learning experience of building it, and you don't want to get in a situation where you built it wrong for a whole team and rolled it out and gone, oh no, what do I do? Because that's a really massive project belly flop.
Yeah. And were you at as an admin in this company all the way up into getting Golden Hoodie?
No. So what happened? So I was CEO of that coaching company, and we'd that coaching company was a non-profit, and we'd very much relied on government funding and grants to deliver support to young people. But in the UK, what happened was there was some political changes, like a new party came in and they changed all the funding streams. And actually my business and many non-profits actually in our space, it was very sad, kind of actually fell by the wayside. They really struggled because the funding, a lot of the funding we originally had access to was taken away, and given to much larger companies and corporates, which we weren't able to access. So I was at that point of going, okay, I've pretty much kind of lost my business. Like I grew it massively and now it's like completely like gone back to, okay, we're not getting the money in. And I was also planning to have a family, right? So I was thinking, well, what do I do now? Like, my business is not really going to thrive in this environment. There isn't the funding there to continue what we're doing. So that's when I sort of had that pivotal career point of going, what can I do now going forward that would give me the flexibility, that would allow me to earn, that isn't running a company at this point, because I didn't want to run a company because I was just about to have a baby and just wanted that complete flexibility. So that's when I started really exploring the Salesforce career opportunities, and I realized that working as a business analyst actually was very much the same as a business coach, but the Salesforce technology allowed me to go, oh well, I can still work as a business coach technically, and I can go in and understand a business's problems and challenges and help them rewire management processes, which is what I was doing as a business coach. But I can also implement the system and get them from proper A to Z and get them up and running. And that kind of like, again, sort of had that light bulb blow my mind situation of going, oh, okay, this would be amazing, and I can still earn quite well and I can work remotely. And at the time, just before we had kids and getting married, we traveled around the world for 4 months. So that was kind of like my test point of going, okay, could I be a Salesforce freelance consultant and do it remotely? So we traveled for 4 months around the world, and I worked in caravans and hotels and all over, like in the evenings, doing Salesforce consultancy while I was away. And I was like, okay, this is doable. And then when we came home, we settled down in Hastings, which is, we moved out of London, 2 hours south of London, onto the coast, and to start the family and sort of settle really. And so I got into working as a Salesforce consultant and really worked as a solo consultant for 2 or 3 years, working with projects, and was earning well that way. So that gave me the light bulb moment for Supermums, because I realised other parents could do this flexibly. And so I launched Supermums in 2016. I had previously had the idea and thought I could get funding for it. So we didn't charge for our courses, etc. But I really struggled to get funding because we weren't working with the most disadvantaged people, if you like. We were working with mums who, yes, have been out of work for 16, 13 years in some cases. But they weren't classed as being fundable, really. So after trying to get funding for it and getting knockbacks from so many doors, literally, I just kept going, oh no, there's no funding. I was like, I'm just going to launch this and crack on and charge for the courses and make sure they're cheaper than what Salesforce charge, and sort of go forward. So that journey of running Supermums, after Salesforce seeing Supermums grow after a couple of years, I think it was 2 or 3 years, that's when they awarded me the Golden Hoodie, because they'd seen the amazing talent that had come out of Supermums and that we were still going strong.
That's amazing.
It got to a point where it's like, actually, we're doing good stuff and we're producing new talent for the sector.
Yeah, so I definitely heard, though, that you kind of were doing the work from anywhere way before that was cool. Exactly. Let's jump in a van life, #van life, and let's play Salesforce consultant from the road. That must have been a wild experience. Was that awesome?
Yeah, it was nice. What was brilliant about being in New Zealand and Australia, and obviously fond memories of where you are right now, is that the time zone was perfect, because we'd go out and travel and visit places all day, and then every evening in the camper van, because you don't want to go out every night when you're traveling, you can't afford it. We'd sit there in the camper van and work. and everybody in the
Amazing.
UK was just coming online. So it's like, I'm working UK hours, but I'm traveling and doing all this fun stuff during the day. And that for me was like the perfect balance. So to be honest, if it wasn't restricted in the UK with kids right now and stuff, then that would be my perfect dream. Like when you were kidless, you could do all of that. But yeah, that was a perfect balance. And I always have this vivid memory because I'm a bit of a deadline person with certifications and you know, the new releases and having to get them done. And typically at this point, we had a camper van where you couldn't even sit in it. It was one of those where you had to lie on the bed. So I'm there doing my like certification exam like a few hours before the deadline. Trying to get my certification secured so I didn't lose it. You know, I'm like, oh my God, why do I do this to myself? You know, so I didn't even have a seat to sit on. But
no, that's all. And you're probably looking at some like ridiculously amazing scenery in a ridiculous place. And you're like, what is my life made of? Certificate deadlines and amazing scenery. No, I think a lot of us would envy you. But yes, Salesforce did absolutely see that what you were doing was good. And that's ultimately what's behind the Golden Hoodie. They want to make sure a spotlight is shown on what you've been doing, and Supermums has been doing an amazing thing in that space, and we see it in Australia as well. You've come out here. But for that Golden Hoodie moment, some of us have been able to see a Golden Hoodie presentation. Some have been online. Someone knows someone. Would you be able to, though, take us through how does it feel? What was it like on your presentation? Was it in stage? And yeah, what was the lead up like? Take us through those goosebumps.
Yeah, and it was amazing opportunity that we got given because I got awarded it at Salesforce World Tour in London just before the lockdown happened. It was the last World Tour before lockdown. And obviously I didn't know I was getting it. So they said, oh, we're going to do this Trailblazer video on you, which was an amazing experience over 3 days, you know, where they just come and shadow you and do everything. And it was like you felt like a little bit of a film star for 3 days. It was completely out of my comfort zone, though, because I've never done a lot of videos or recording before. And I think for me, you know, it was a fantastic sort of pat on the back, because when you're self-employed and you're working really hard to make everything work, you know, for the first 2-3 years, well, to be fair, before we got the Golden Hoodie, Supermums I had subsidised through our consultancy. You know, it wasn't profit making, it's a non-profit anyway. But we had people paying for the course, but the cost of running the program was still being subsidised by my Salesforce consultancy practice. And, you know, it's just a real pat on the back, because you don't get that when you're self-employed. You have no manager that's telling you, well done. You know, it's somebody saying to you, you know, you've done a good job, well done, you know, we're proud of you. And so it was, you know, a really rewarding experience to have that sort of recognition. And for me, I don't work for financial motivation. I work from a financial point of, I've got to pay people's salaries, you know, and make sure we've got enough to cover the cost. But for me, it's the impact that I make every day, which is why I've always run non-profits, because, you know, I'm not in it to make loads of money. I'm in it to make a business run and be sustainable. And the thing that you know, Salesforce World Tour gave me the opportunity when they gave me the Golden Hoodie, and, you know, this was in front of so many people, and they'd done the Trailblazer video. It really helped grow our brand and our presence. And that was fantastic, because it meant that a lot of the businesses and business corporates were like, how can we support you? Can we work with you? Can we employ from your talent base? And so that really helped our company to grow, because we were very keen to have sponsors. So we've now got sponsors for our different courses. We've got companies that use our recruitment service, you know, and they were all coming to me, which was fantastic. So it just really raised all, you know, awareness of our brand and the ecosystem. And it was funny because some of our team, when we were at the last World Tour just gone now, and we all had our Supermum hoodies on, and there was up to 50 of us there from the Supermums community, and my staff were like, we feel like film stars. because everybody's going, Supermums, like, hi.
Amazing.
You know, my mum did your course, or my sister or my wife. Like, we have so many wives, sisters, grandmas, you know, in the ecosystem of people already in the ecosystem doing the course. So it has been a fantastic ride. I'm thoroughly thankful for Salesforce for, you know, doing this video for us that I'd never be able to afford to do, you know, and a fantastic opportunity to be on stage with everybody as well.
That's it's just an inspiring story, and it's lovely to hear that a lot of people had come up, whether they're in the course or knew about it or wanted to help by recruiting. That's lovely. I like that story. That's awesome, and so good of them to help promote. They're probably, obviously it wasn't the main goal of it, but it's such a great outcome for you that being awarded the Golden Hoodie has had that ripple effect onto your business as well, not profit wise. But when we talk about, so your business has kind of seen a bit more exposure, would you say that the Golden Hoodie has affected you personally or professionally?
Absolutely. I think it is that validation, as I sort of referenced before. When you're self-employed, you haven't got a manager or anybody giving you a pat on the back. You know, you're kind of on this emotional journey of highs and lows all the time, because you're constantly managing all the different parts of the business, you know, hiring and managing team members. Sometimes you step away from actually having that real life impact. So I developed the training courses that we deliver through Supermums. I don't get actively involved in the admin course, or I haven't never done all the sales. Actually, I've always had team members that we brought on for that because I was managing the consultancy at the time. But now I deliver the consultancy skills course, and that I really love, like, having that first-hand experience with mums directly. So it kind of gives you that pat on the back to say, you know, you, as I say, you've done a good job. It continues to spur you on and motivate you, and it builds credibility for people, really, in that, you know, Salesforce have supported you, and we are an approved provider, training provider for Salesforce as well. So we're trying to, you know, really build, you know, we wanted a really robust relationship with Salesforce. You know, everything we do isn't tokenistic. It, you know, we want to be official and approved and recognised, and the Golden Hoodie kind of just added to that portfolio of what we do. And it continues to motivate, you know, it continues to motivate me, like doing stuff like this now. It's like, you know, oh yeah, that special moment comes back. And you so much need that in your day to day, because, you know, it's not just self-employed people that have the ups and downs. You know, there's always tough days on projects and tough days in your jobs and in life. And so it's always, I'm a big, with my background being coaching, I'm a big believer in having all those positive affirmations and positive things that you put on. So when you put your jacket on for, like, today, which you don't get to do, right, because you look a bit weird running around the house with it all the time, my kids would laugh at me, you know, but it's nice because it brings back all those emotions and feelings of, like, being on stage and having, you know, all the team being there, and, you know, everybody was so happy that day in our community. We had, again, like 50 odd people at World Tour when I actually got the Golden Hoodie. You know, all those feelings and emotions flood back. And so you've got to have those things around you that make you feel really good.
That's really true. I think it is something that I do look back on my shelf and see Astro wearing the Golden Hoodie, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
I can see it in my eye.
Yeah, it is. It's a little motivator. You're like, yeah, okay, just keep going. Like, you're doing something good. Just keep going. Head in the game. Yeah. But you mentioned the World Tour and all those people in the audience and all of those fellow trailblazers in the community. We talk about our journeys through this community, this ecosystem. How important has that kind of camaraderie, the ohana, the community in general, how has that played into your journey? How important is it to you?
So interesting enough, when I was working, when I started my Salesforce journey, I didn't really know many other people because I was working as a solo consultant effectively, but I was working virtually at home, and my daughter wouldn't take anything but breast milk for the first year, and not even out of a bottle. So I was breastfeeding, right? So I was like, I never made events, and because I was quite far out of London, and sort of in a situation at home, I have never really made a lot of the ohana events itself. So I've really more benefited from growing, I suppose, my own community of parents and mums and kind of supporting them. And that's one of the reasons why I grew Supermums, because I wanted to connect with people in that way. And it was interesting actually during the pandemic, because it allowed me to attend more Ohana events virtually. I was like, oh, actually I can make things, because I can never make the blooming ones in London. They're always on Wednesdays, which are the days that I have the kids now, you know, so I'm just like, impossible task. Yeah, I'm in this situation where, you know, I really value like the online world. You know, I do appreciate the balance of getting away from my computer these days. I'm sure everybody's a little bit sick of being on Zoom and doing things. But yeah, I wanted a virtual community of people where I could connect. And that's, yes, one of the motivations for Supermums. And it wasn't just training people, but it was bringing other people like me together. And I think I have always been a community organizer of my own, because with my last business, it was about bringing young social entrepreneurs together, and we had networking events. So I sort of pulled that really. And now with Supermums, we have over 700 who've been out through our programs. And so we've got this fantastic community. So when we go to events, we can bring them together and connect. But what's also really valuable is that we're connecting them into all the other events that are going on and saying, right, come and meet us at World Tour. We'll be here for you. So they're not like me. I mean, I went to Dreamforce, right, back in 2010, 11. And I was like by myself, didn't know anybody. Actually, I tell a lie, I'd met Bright Jen because I was speaking to them about helping me as a consultancy. And funnily enough, they were all on the same plane. So I was like, oh, hello. I was like, and then I don't know anybody else. So it was a really scary experience going to Dreamforce. You know, and obviously that was way back in the days, about 10 years ago. Whereas now I don't want any of my members of my Supermums community to feel like they're going to an event alone. Like at World Tour this year, when it reopened, I was like, right, guys, who's coming? And we set up a little registration form. And we're saying, like, come and meet us. And we had a WhatsApp group set up. And we're all like, you know, we're here or here or here. Come and meet us all at 3. Or we got invited to our sponsors' events. Again, I'd always look at these events and never get invited to any, right? Because I was like by myself. Whereas now, as part of the Supermums community, we get invited to all these plush VIP events. And I'm like, oh, this is really exciting. Which I'd never get an invite to before as being a solo admin. And so working together and collectively as a group, you know, it just helps everybody feel like they're not alone and they've got that peer support. And equally, like, you know, I say to people, some people are like, oh, I'm really nervous talking to you. I'm like, look, seriously, I'm just like you. I've set this up, so I've got a group. Please don't be scared speaking to me, because that defeats the whole object. So, you know, the Ohana has been very welcoming to Supermums, and being a group of mums and having, I suppose, the credibility and reputation that we've now got, you know, we've been invited to these different events and to meet different people as part of the Ohana. So I'm really grateful for all of that.
It sounds like you just created your own like Trailblazer community within a Trailblazer community. So it's like you were doing the same thing that was already out there, but just for the unique set of members that you have and you wanted to connect, because there wasn't that out there. So it sounds like you're doing exactly what the community is there for, is to bring people together, make them feel included and equal, and have the same opportunities no matter their status or their opportunities that they have been given. So no, it just sounds amazing. It sounds like the Ohana, but for mums, Supermums and allies. So that's awesome. We talk about how you train a lot of people that are new to the system or go through courses for yourself new in the ecosystem. What advice would you give Trailblazers out there? Like, what are your top advice tips when someone comes or they're new into the ecosystem? What's your go-to advice for Trailblazers?
There's so many, I mean, there's 10 things we talk about rather than 3, so I'll choose 3.
Sure.
In terms of what you need. I think we tell any trainee that goes through the program, you're going to be on this learning dip. You know, you're going to start off going, yeah, I can do this. And then you're going to have these dips. And these dips typically come when people go through our course. They come like 3 or 4 weeks into it and they're like, oh my gosh, do I understand this and get this? We have a one-to-one mentor that helps people through their journey. So the one-to-one mentor meets them every single week and spends 1 to 2 hours with them, checking in on their competency, what they've learnt, have they got it right or not, and spending time with them to make sure they understand it, and specifically in their learning style. I'll come on to that in a minute. But their mentor holds their hand during those learning dips. So rather than going, oh, I can't get this, I'm not motivated anymore, because some of our trainees have previously tried to do Trailhead by themselves and then, you know, got to that point where they found it hard and haven't created that accountability plan really, is it keeps them accountable because they've got to submit a homework record every week with the help of the mentor. So you're going to have that learning dip, but it's making sure you have that right support alongside. And that's why we introduce the one-to-one mentoring. The other kind of learning dip where we see people sort of have that, oh my God, moment is where they're going to do work experience. And they're like, oh, I'm going to do this for real. And it's a real client and a real project. And I can't imagine, like, it must be incredibly scary, is if you've just done Trailhead by yourself to then go and pitch for some work experience and be completely by yourself, like that would be terrifying. So we provide like work experience in our project, which is alongside an experienced Salesforce professional. So they give you some work, but they're there to check that you've done it right and, you know, give you feedback, etc. Over that time. But, you know, those trainees are scared even with all that support, right? So, you know, can't imagine. And so we hold their hand all the way through that. And I think it's just being aware that you're going to go through this learning tip, whether it's the admin or the service cloud or doing your first implementation or being that first consultant, is make sure you've got the package support around you. And on all our courses, we do live training and mentoring because we're very much set up in mind of different people's learning styles, because again, I'm terrible at motivating myself to do learning by myself. Like, I have to be in a group of people, I have to have a live trainer because I love to ask questions all the time. When I need help, I need to reach out to somebody and say, oh my God, this happened today, what do I do? And so I've created really that perfect environment from the admin course and the consultancy skills course and our marketing cloud course to provide that sort of supportive environment for people, because some people really need those additional learning styles. So it's being aware of your learning style. Don't get hung up of going, I can't do this. If you're trying to do it yourself and the way you're learning isn't working for you, do invest in this other types of training, because that's going to give you the confidence, the skills. You'll learn it quicker or better because it's a different type of learning style to perhaps what you were doing, which wasn't working. And I've personally always invested in live training courses where I go along and I learn it and I have that trainer, I can ask questions, etc. Because that's the way that I learn better and I can really kind of focus my time and be present and kind of learn it. So we attract a lot of learners who like that hand holding and real time kind of support and have somebody, say, holding their hand as they're going through the project. So that's my second point, is be aware of your learning style and make sure you've got the support around you. The third is, you know, overcoming this imposter syndrome. And my biggest thing is seeing people procrastinate and stay as a Salesforce admin and not ask for salary increases. So I kind of get on my soapbox around things, which inspires all my content, to be honest, because I'm like, I speak to a mum, you know, one of these mums have been with us 4 years, and I ended up having a call with her because she was on our consultancy skills program. She said, oh, you know, I'm still sort of on 35 after 3 years, and you know, I really value the support and the flexibility this company give me. And I'm like, yes, but you need to be on more than that right now. Like, why why are you not asking for a pay rise? And so then I go, right, how do I sort of inspire people to do something different? And that inspires all my content. So don't procrastinate and always feel like, you know, think about what you're offering the company, demonstrate the return on the return on investment that you're giving that company. As a Salesforce professional, your involvement is in a company is helping it to grow, reduce costs, reduce administration, increase its profit, look at efficiencies, and really value the skills and attributes you bring to that organization in many different ways. That could be industry experience, it could be your training and helping users adopt the system. You know, think about where you add value and plan out your career goals, plan out your salary goals, plan out the certifications you want. And part of the I suppose we at Supermums, we trained a lot of people in admin, and then we didn't really have to have an after program. And we were like, we're just leaving them at 6 months and then they're getting on with it. So that spurred me on to then provide additional coaching our consultancy skills course, because we wanted to continue to help people to progress and not just be stuck at sort of that basic admin level and not really know the next steps to go through. So the third piece is just really get a career plan in place, get motivation to get that career plan. Again, have somebody hold your hand, whether that's a mentor or you do a training course like we've got on our consultancy skills course, or, you know, you kind of keep the momentum going. And if you're not confident in yourself and you're struggling with that imposter syndrome, maybe look into career coaching and the offer that can bring to you, because I know career coaching has helped a lot of our trainees sell themselves into companies and negotiate a pay rise where they feel like, you know, it's well deserved. So that would be my third tip, is plan your future and sort of be quite intentional with it, because there is so much opportunity to progress in this sector, that, you know, you shouldn't be where you started 3 years from, you know, 3 years on.
And that's a really good point to highlight. You're right, is be confident in your own skills, like know your own value and make sure that you're being rewarded for that same value. And you're right, a lot of, especially women, don't fight for a pay rise or that it get overlooked in particular. It's easier to. And then on the flip side, if we come across too confident, we also get overlooked. So yeah, it's a little bit more difficult.
Exactly. Nobody's going to give you a pay rise unless you ask for one. But the way you ask for one is by demonstrating, look, I've done X, Y, Z, or this is where I want to be. I'd like to get there. Can you help me get there? And we had a great podcast on our own Mums on Cloud 9 podcast, actually, which was about how to ask for a promotion. So there's a way of doing it very strategically. But if you don't ask, you won't get, because a company is never going to go, we're going to pay you more for the heck of it, apart from maybe an annual pay rise. But then that's not necessarily incremental or reflective of what potentially where you want to be or what you could get.
Yeah, probably just inflation, and we know how great that is.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're at that part of the podcast where I am able to ask a fun question to our guest. Same question every week, everyone. And today we are asking, if you were an animal, what animal would you be and why?
Well, my favourite animal is a giraffe. Because I think they look beautiful and long and they kind of stand out. And it was interesting because early on in my entrepreneurial career, this was again a light bulb moment for me. For anybody entrepreneurs that are listening, I did the talent dynamics profile, and the talent dynamics kind of says what kind of entrepreneur are you and where is your zone of genius, if you like. And I came out as a mechanic, a creator, and a star. So mechanics obviously lends myself quite well to the processes and system side of it. The creator is creating something and a star is shouting about it. And I never know where I get this innate ability from, but my mum and dad were certainly not like me. But with Supermums, I'm very passionate about shouting from the rooftops about this is possible. This is what you can achieve. Like, as I say, getting my soapbox a little bit around, come on, guys, you can do this. The career opportunities exist. The salaries exist. Like, let's get you out there. So I feel like a bit of a draft sometimes because I really stick my head above the parapet and say what I think. And I think, well, if people like it, great. If they don't, they don't. They don't need to follow me. But I'm going to do what I can to support people, right?
I love it. We haven't had a giraffe yet, so that's definitely tick that box. And you can't change your spots, you're right, but if you shout from the rooftops, definitely I think giraffe is an awesome one. That's awesome. I love it. At this point, I turn over to you for an open mic session, like inspire, or if you want to promote. I know we spoke a lot about your Supermums, but if there's anything that you wanted to reiterate, over to you, Heather.
Oh, thank you, Mia. A lot of our referrals come through the Salesforce ecosystem to people on who launch their new careers. So the biggest challenge in the Salesforce ecosystem right now is that there isn't enough talent. And we all, I feel, have a responsibility and absolutely have the skills to tell everybody about it in our local communities, whether that's our immediate family, our friends, etc. Like, don't be scared of sharing what Salesforce Career could offer people, and educate them, because certainly at Supermums we can't reach everybody, and we're really seeing the power of the word of mouth phenomenon, where you kind of sit down with somebody, you go through the system, tell them what it's all about, look at their skills, and go, this could be something for you. You could earn more and get more flexibility. So spread the word about what is possible. Let's get more people into this sector to kind of fill the gaps we've got right now. Please do tell them about Supermums as a great career, great sort of stepping stone. We do provide that A to Z package of support, the training, the coaching, the mentoring, the work experience, the recruitment support, like the whole shebang to get people from A to Z at an incredibly great value. And, they can obviously talk to us and check out other training providers as well. So refer them to supermums.org. We have programs that operate different regional time zones, so people can join from any different country. They can be a parent, they can be a non-parent. We're absolutely inclusive to everybody, and everybody feels really involved and included wherever they are. So that's, for anybody sort of thinking about launching a career. For any of you that are looking to progress your career and feeling a little bit demotivated or unconfident, then do come and talk to us about our consultancy skills course or our marketing cloud course, and we'd be very happy to hold your hand and mentor you and coach you through that journey as well, because I'm really passionate about, as I say, getting more people up. And that's the other sort of biggest challenge that Salesforce have right now, is that on our latest workforce talent call, they've got a lot of admins coming in, but they're not progressing. And so that's my next sort of challenge, right? It's like, how do I get admins to progress to consultants? How do we build that confidence in them to move up the line? So that's sort of the next thing that I'm talking on our podcast show about over the next 6 weeks, which is Mums on Cloud 9, if you want to come and listen to that, if you enjoy podcasts too. So that's all I'll say. Thanks, Mia.
Yeah, no problems. We will link to Supermums in the show notes and also to your podcast as well. Everyone loves to share, I guess, across podcasting. We always love to help each other out. But definitely head over to Supermums, guys. It's an awesome opportunity, and share it with everyone you know, and just bring people into the ecosystem. We love more trailblazers and definitely throughout it. And be confident, like Heather said. The great tips you've given us today. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had fun. But thanks, Heather.
It's been great. Thank you, Mia, for having me.